Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode, or I should say, another video for Smart Stack. Today, I talk a little bit about how you can get started coding as a non-technical business owner, but actually start coding today. So I'm going to walk through the basics, just downloading your first IDE, integrated developer environment. I think it's called, just the place where you actually go code. How in there you can download all the necessary extensions and tools and things like that to actually let you start coding. And I'll walk through two very simple scripts and how to make it very quickly using AI. I was blown away. But then how to actually, once those scripts are made, to then modify it. And then if those modifications aren't correct, how you can actually use the AI to actually fix it for you. I was completely blown away by this. I think you will be too. We'll see you on the other side. All right, let's get started here. So yeah, for starters, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I assume this is basic, but what I'm going to be talking about today is VS Code. It is a Microsoft product. It's integrated with GitHub Copilot, which we're going to be talking about today. And you just got to download it. I'm not going to walk through how to download an app, assuming you guys know how to do it. So let's get right into it here. When you get into this, after it's downloaded, the VS Code, again, it's an IDE, integrated development environment. This is where you write your code. You basically have a couple options. It comes right away. So actually, the first thing it shows you is just the basic setups. The very first one is the Copilot. So this is one you're going to want to pay attention to. I think they're just, now that I've installed it, it says chat with Copilot. It's already there, but I think it just will say something like install Copilot. Just click that and it'll kind of walk you through it. If you have a GitHub account, which I do, it'll ask you to authenticate. If you don't, you'll set up an account. Again, I'm not going to go through the details of setting up these types of accounts because they make it very, very easy. And if you're not sure if you have it installed, you can always go to this panel. This is your navigation pane. There's files, which we'll get into in a sec, searching Git. So this is kind of version control. Again, not so much there. I actually don't know this one, run and debug, but extensions, right? So this is VS Code is the base. It's kind of, your basic building block, your foundation, and the extensions are all the things you build on top of it. And of course, this GitHub Copilot. Once it's installed in this welcome screen, you'll see that checked off. There's all these other ones we won't get into, choose a theme and support, all these different languages and different things like that. These are important tuning your settings. The only one, of all of these that I would look at, watch video tutorials, you can do that here, of course, is just installing the right language. So again, a language is just the way you actually code. So there's, of course, different things like JavaScript, Python, all these different ones here. These two are the top two, I think probably the most popular languages out there. So let's just install those two. So it'll search. And then, honestly, all you can have to do really is just, okay, we'll install Python. So that's installing. And then, interestingly enough, I don't see the JavaScript one here, probably here somewhere, but I just don't know the right way to look at it. But you can see once Python's installed, it's doing, a couple new prompts here. We'll get to that in a second. And after a quick search with JavaScript, you can see that there's a whole bunch of extensions here. Really, actually, what's interesting, after a quick search, a lot of JavaScript is kind of already built in. So again, nice benefit of using something like VS Code, probably why it's so popular. But you can download these extensions, right? That's your base, but these extensions can do things on top of it, like adding, this one creates new code snippets that you can use and quickly deploy, right? So things that can quickly go in. But again, maybe that's going to be a bit less relevant as we get into the actual AI stuff. So I am going to actually write this particular code in Python. So if you remember, that was the one that we just installed. JavaScript's already in here. We had to install Python. The reason I'm doing Python, it's kind of viewed as one of these ones to very quickly stand up, very quickly executable code. I'm not going to get into a whole thing about what language to use what, but for the purpose of kind of just a demo, being able to stand something up very quickly, Python is a very good way to do that. It's a great way if you're a non-coder to really get into the concept because it's a bit more logical and it doesn't require so much setup. It's just kind of starting to get in there and do stuff and actually be able to interact with it. So we're going to use Python. One thing that's interesting here, this is actually what we were talking about earlier, but you can see it starts to walk you through, all the things that you need to do. And so again, as a non-coder, it's important to understand the structure for the different files and different things that you're going to be doing, the different code you're going to be writing. You have to have a file for each of them, and a really good way to do it, to organize yourself, is to have folders, right? So it works very much similar to like your your Finder here, right? So, just basically a list of files, and then you could have folders within it. But again, the best practice is to, usually what I would recommend is create a brand new folder, wherever it is. I'm going to do it on my desktop to just say, sample project. I don't know, something like that. And so that's in there. And so now all the code that you write related to this is going to be in this folder. And I think it's important to have different folders for different projects, right? So if you end up having, I'm doing this in Python, I'm going to do something specific, but now I want to try something in JavaScript. Maybe I need a couple files because they're kind of referencing each other. Create a separate folder for it. It's going to make it very easy. And of course, it's going to make it simple to integrate back to GitHub, which is kind of your version control. We won't get into that today. So I have the folder here. That's great. It was very easy to create. And so now all it's asking me to do is to open that folder. So what does that mean? So if I go back to the files, it's kind of like, where am I operating out of in this VS Editor? And so it's the same, really. This prompt and this prompt is really going to ask me the same thing, is like, which folder are we working in, right? So again, it's nice to have folders for each project so that, on a project by project basis, you're keeping things clean. And yeah, we can just hit open. I'll find that one that I just made, and we'll hit open. And so we'll just pause for a sec. Yeah, I mean, this is just a bunch of stuff where I can click through. It's just asking me for permissions, whatever. So that's good. And then, you can see it. It's actually kind of really nice. It kind of walks you through it. This is a lot of the stuff that, I was going to show, but it's great that the VS Code editor is just doing it for me, where now that you have this folder, just create your very first file. So it can be whatever you want. Now for this project, what I want to do is I just want to create let's say a very simple script that I give a number, and it's going to tell me if it's a prime number or not, right? So prime just means, you can look up prime, what that means. It's a basic math concept, but we want to do that. So I'm just going to create this brand new thing saying create Python project. And then all it's saying is just create a Python and make sure it's saved as that .py. So yeah, when I do this, this pops up. This is that file there. And I'm just going to hit save. I'm going to call this prime number.py. And there we go. We're on to the next. Okay, this next step here is it just says select the Python interpreter. So this is, again, a separate thing that you need to download. It's basically just the way that it turns, the interpreter says, okay, I'm going to interpret what you write here and put it into zeros and ones basically for the computer. So you'll have to go here to python.org. Again, you can do Windows, whatever. I'm on Mac. You download that. It takes actually a little bit of time, but once it's in, you're good. And you can tell if you just select this Python interpreter, it looks like it's in there. If it wasn't there, it would basically say, no, nothing available, something like that. So that's in there. And then the next step is basically just to start using it. And this is the exciting part. So it took us a bit of time to get here, but run and debug your Python platform. So you can tell it's working. First of all, you've done all these things right. If, you come over here, this is my script. I've written nothing, but it'll still run. It'll just run as nothing. I can hit that play button. The terminal pops up, which is, just showing what's happening. And, well, nothing happens, but it doesn't give me an error. So that's looking good. And whatever, we're going to keep exploring. So that's all done. We're going to mark the Python as done. Everything else here is good to go. So I'm just going to close this. And now we're going to get into the fun part, actually start coding, actually do some interesting things. Okay, so let's do some fun things. So now the first thing I want to do is the most basic thing you can possibly do in coding, which is the hello world. Basically just says you run the script, and it'll print something called hello world. It's like the computer is talking to you, right? So you can go into ChatGPT and do all that, but we're going to do it right within this editor here. So what I'm going to hit is Control-Shift-I. Let's make sure I have that right. Yep, that pops up, and you can see something came over here. You can also just come over here. I think there's a way to do it. Maybe not. Maybe I'll have to stick with that. Oh, no, here it is down here. You could also click this and open this chat. So maybe that Control-Shift-I is a little bit easier. But what I'm just going to say to start is, I want a super basic hello world script that prints hello world when I run it. So let's see what comes back. And there we go. It's pretty cool, right? So it says, okay, this is super simple. All it really saying is print hello world. And then once you save it, you run it, something should happen. So with this, what you can do is you can either, if you hover over it, it says just apply. So it'll just put it right in there. Or it'll insert it in, right? So it'll just kind of say, okay, if I had a lot more going on, I could put it right in the middle, but we're just going to apply it like that. So there we go. It's in there. I'm now going to hit save. So now that's saved. Just Control S. And then, as we did before, we're going to run that script. There it is. And sure enough, hello world was printed. Right? So super basic script, but hopefully that at least shows the point of how all of this works together. Pretty interesting. So now let's take it to the next level. So now we're here, and basically what's interesting for this is when I open a new file, so I just saved that one as hello world. When I have this new one, it actually asks me to just start using the Copilot right away. This is the inline editor, so you could do it like right in line. That was Command I. I think they're really pushing that. Or you can do the chat like I did over here. I think the difference is when this is like very in context, like I need something right here. Whereas this is a little bit higher number level and maybe asking it some questions like you would ChatGPT. That's what this is for. So let's try it actually right in line. The cool thing I didn't talk about before is that within here, you can actually choose different models. So GPT-4o, this is, the ChatGPT one you're pretty familiar with. O3 Mini, this is a bit, I think, closer to coding. Again, ChatGPT probably has a better description. Gemini, this is Google's, and then Claude, of course, Anthropic. I've heard a lot of good things about Claude, to be honest. So I can click that, and it'll actually use that LLM, that model, to do it. So now let's actually ask it to do something a little bit trickier. So yeah, I want a script that asks for a number, then returns either prime, if it's a prime number, or not prime, if it's not a prime number. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay, so it's asking me to enable, sure. Not sure what's happening here. Let's pause for a second. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, pretty cool, right? So I just enabled that, and then it basically goes through that, right? It's asking me, so it defines and again, I'm just kind of interpreting this, I'm not a pro, but it's defining the function, and then it goes through all these different things, and it's basically a very simple script of if it's prime or not prime. And this is the whole thing. It is a Copilot, right? So at the end of the day, it's not just going to do it for you. It is up to you to kind of say, does this look good or not? So again, I'm not going to go through all this. I think it looks good. Again, you got to be a little bit technical, right? To say, okay, what does this if mean? What's it doing? What are all the different things? It's not the point of the video. The point is to say, okay, let's accept it. And really without doing anything too much to it, let's just run it. Let's just see what happens. So I hit run. You can see that it's going to ask me for a number, and I'll just say 5, and it's prime. Pretty cool, right? So let's do something bigger, 297. Oh, whoops. So I actually have to rerun it. I can just scroll up on my cursor. It's asking me for a number, 297, not prime. Interesting. And then, I don't know, let's do a big one just for fun. Pretty quick, and that's not prime. I don't know what so the interesting thing is now I want to say, okay, what are the divisors, right? So I look at this and I say, so if I look at something like 297, I want to know what are the numbers that divide into it to make it not prime. So again, I look at this and I say, I don't really know where to put this in. And you could try. And honestly, I just tried. I couldn't really do it. So here's some fun things we could do, right? So you can highlight this, and then you can come over into here. It's highlighted now, and you can do a / explain, right? And I can just hit enter, and you can see it explains exactly what it's doing, right? So this is a conditional that checks if whether n is divisible by I, right? Without leaving the remainder. So this, right? So again, it's checking, again, without going to the prime, but you can see if it equals 0, it means it's divisible, and so therefore it's not prime without going into it. But you can understand what the code is doing by using these types of commands like explain. And so now, again, I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to say, let's open this. Let's modify using Copilot. And I'm going to say, if it equals 0, right? So if, i.e. not prime, then return the divisors of the number, right? Let's see. That's not really a really nice way to explain it, but let's just see what happens. And again, it does a pretty interesting thing. It'll return I and the inverse, right? So if there's 20 and we hit on 4, it's going to be 4 and 5, right? Those are the things. So that's good, and we can accept it. But now we want it to actually show up further down. So this is where it really becomes that Copilot, right? Although that it does return this up here, I have to understand a little bit of the script to understand. Yeah, and actually that's actually pretty cool how it's able to do exactly that. So I didn't even try to do that. That wasn't planned, but you can see it's smart enough, right? That was really kind of interesting that it'll actually say, okay, let's print not just not prime, but also those divisors. That actually kind of blew my mind right there. So pretty impressive. Now it's giving me a little bit of an error, so maybe that's not completely right, but let's just see if we run this, what happens. Okay, so now it's giving me a little bit of an error there. Not 100% sure what's going on. I'm going to pause it and kind of try and figure this out, maybe with some AI assistance. So all I did really here was, again, just basically said, hey, fix this. It's not defined. Let's fix it. So again, let's accept that, and I don't know, let's just run it. Whatever, let's see what happens. So enter a number. We're going to say 20. Oh, it's always doing it up there. I don't know why. Yeah, and that's pretty cool. So not prime, and then 2 and 10. So this isn't perfect, so obviously 4 and 5 are in there too, but just more the concept of how you can see. It did a suggestion, actually wasn't right, but then I just asked the AI to fix it, and here we are. So I'm going to leave it at that. Pretty simple script, but hopefully it shows the story of how you can actually get started with these coding type tools, how you can install AI, Python, things like that, and how you can get started right away using both the chat and the inline editor to make a script, modify that script, and then debug it all within the tool using AI. Honestly, this took me 15 minutes. If it wasn't for AI, it probably would have taken me an hour. Really interesting stuff. I think this is going to be a huge unlock for a lot of people. Looking forward to your thoughts.